Hello and welcome back to the Atmosphere Electric. There's Fran in the sunshine and I'm Rich. How are you, bud?
I need to be careful I don't burn it, don't I?
Told you, mate. I've got a solution for that. 15 minutes front, 15 minutes back. Build yourself up gradually, then you'll be fine in the sun, mate. Even gingers can get away with it. How are you?
I'm going to come on here tanned next week and look a different man.
If you wouldn't mind, because I'm sick and tired of looking at you. How did you went back? All right, all good?
Yeah, very good, thank you. You?
Yeah, no bad. And we didn't do too bad last week, did we? I think I got 6 right and 2 correct scores, I think, off the top of my head.
You got 6 right with 2 correct scores. I got 5 right with 0 correct scores. But luckily for me, I put my 5 right in an accumulator, which all landed.
Yeah. Moving on. Not bad. Nottingham Forest cost me, I think, about £350 last week. Bless them.
But just on our £5 challenge, both of ours landed last week, which took us to £255 profit for the season.
Did mine? I thought I put Forest in mine.
No, you had Brentford, Villa, Palace, and Newcastle, which paid £112.
Oh, happy days.
Tell me you didn't back it then.
My memory's not that great. I won £100 on a different one, so I was all right. I told myself.
We both had the same Brentford, Villa,
Yes,
Palace,
I
but you added Newcastle onto yours. So we actually, between us, we collected £170 on that, which has taken us to £255 profit.
I tell you what, mate, we're flying, we're rocking and rolling. And I tell you, I was quite happy with the Liverpool Arsenal draw coming in as well, because I could not see that at 2-0. I thought this is nowhere near. Although, to be fair, I did, as I said I would, I did watch the Barcelona Real Madrid game, and what a game that was, by the way. That was an absolute, that was like a game of basketball, unbelievable.
I saw a little bit of it, and from what I did see, I was like, this is just a different level to what we've been seeing in the Premier League.
Just the entertainment value, Real Madrid go 2-0 up inside 20 minutes. It was nuts. And now, of course, obviously Barcelona have gone on to win the league as they did last night, beating Osasuna. And have you had a chance to look at any of the playoff games this week? Obviously, coming to a conclusion.
So I was having a couple of mates came around yesterday and we were having a chat about it, saying we've not really been enjoying the Premier League. But I said I have thoroughly enjoyed pretty even the 0-0s that I've seen with what they call Wickham and Charlton. I mean, one of them was a terrible game, but generally the playoffs have been superb. I've really enjoyed them. I think some of the football that's been played has been good. It's been nice to see a bit of long ball, some long throws. It's sort of coming back into fashion. Even some of the tackles. Like, you don't see tackles these days. Like, some of the blood and thunder tackles that I've seen have been great. I didn't enjoy watching Nathan Jones giving it that was just embarrassing on his part. But I've really enjoyed the playoffs. I think they've been an absolute credit to the EFL, and no VAR is so refreshing. I think it just, like that last minute goal from Sunderland and not having it go to VAR and just letting them celebrate. The commentator was able to just sit back and let the atmosphere go from the stadium to the TV. I thought was superb.
What I would say, though, if you're a Stockport fan, you're probably not quite so happy about the lack of VAR, right?
Yeah, you would agree with that. There are obviously some use cases of positive and negatives for it. I mean, on that one, the linesman and the referee, just the officiating team, just have to take the brunt of that, because that's a dreadful decision. Like, I've seen Ref Support UK saying, "Oh, if you look at this angle, it's not sure who headed the ball," and then you pause it. I know they can't pause it, but you pause it, and there's one person who rises to head the ball, and it's quite clearly a red shirt. So I think in that case, you probably just have to say that, give them the stick for that. They've made a mistake. But for me, I'm not a Stockport fan, so I don't have a dog in the game on that, but you just have to. I'd sooner take that decision and go, referee's made a mistake, than having VAR.
Yeah, that was a pretty bad one.
Really bad.
And of course, they go out on penalties. So that one goal. And I know that everything changes if they score the goal or don't score the goal, but in theory they go out. They go out on penalties, and therefore they would have gone through. So I imagine if you're a Stockport fan, you probably don't agree too much. And then of course there's the drama in Holland, with Ajax conceding their 99th minute equaliser to put the title back in PSV's hands. So actually there's some really interesting stuff going across Europe right now, isn't there?
There is, and I think for us it's refreshing, isn't it? Because the Premier League has been done and dusted, and without some of the other leagues and some of the drama unfolding, I mean, good for us that the EFL has got drama, which the playoffs are there for, by the way. it would be boring. I have seen that the French league are looking at putting in first, second, third, fourth playoffs to see who wins the league, which I'm completely against that because I think if you win the league by 30 points, I just think it makes it a complete farce. But the actual playoffs in the EFL from third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, I think are one of the best ideas that have come around of recent times, and I think there's such good value.
A couple of transfers floating around as well. Florian Wirtz looks like he's going to Manchester City after you upset with the Bayern Munich fans. That was unnecessary. Looks like he's going to Man City.
I might have to go back to them now and go, everyone all right? No, I mean, he's not the same style of player as De Bruyne, is he? So it is a direct replacement in the position that they play, but he's not the same style of player. So it'll be interesting if that does come off to see how they develop and change their tactics, because he's a very, very good player, but he's not of the same style of De Bruyne. So they are going to have to adapt.
Well, and it looks like they're now using Germany as their, with obviously Marmouche coming from there. Obviously, Gundogan came from back. They're looking at that German league, aren't they? As being, of course, Kevin De Bruyne came from Germany or back from Germany to England for Chelsea. So it looks like they feel safe picking up talent from Germany now.
Haaland.
Yeah, good point. Yes, I forgot that.
It's quite a few. It's quite a few. I mean, when you look around the leagues, Germany is possibly the most direct comparison to the Premier League. There is more competition from sort of the top half of the league. There is, whereas you look around the rest of the leagues, it is generally seems to be one or two teams dominate. I know Bayern Munich have obviously dominated the league, but you have got other good sides that have competed at good levels. Frankfurt, Dortmund, Leipzig. Like there is good sides in there, which is probably the most comparable to the Premier League. So it makes complete sense that Man City and other top teams do target their top players.
And I think there'll be more. Obviously, Liverpool are looking at Frimpong as the Trent replacement. So again, obviously part of that famous Leverkusen team that obviously nearly went unbeatable last season or invincible last season. Do you think that's a like for like? Do you think that's a good idea to be bringing Frimpong in?
It's not a like for like. It's a like for like in terms of position, but again, similar to Florian Wirtz, very different style of player. He's very much an attacking fullback who will bomb forwards with pace. He's a very pacey player, isn't he? I don't think you're going to find anyone like Trent. I think you have to adapt. There isn't another player of the Trent mould, is there really? Probably the nearest to him is Reece James, but you're not going to go out and get him. He's injury prone. So I think you have to adapt and change. And, Frimpong is wanted by a lot of top European clubs. So it makes complete sense to me. He's young, he's proven. I think he's a very, very good player and he'd be a good sign. I think it's 35 million as well, which isn't a lot really, is it?
That's his release clause. As far as I'm aware, he has a release clause in his contract. And of course, the other person leaving Leverkusen is Alonso, who's confirmed as going to Real Madrid. Do you think that's the logical step for him? Is that going to be too big for him? Obviously, that Real Madrid team are in a little bit of turmoil. They're definitely going to have a rebuild. Do you think he's the right man to come in and do that? It's going to sound a bit odd. He's relatively unproven still. I know he obviously won the league and went unbeaten and hasn't managed to replicate the form of last year, which is going to be very, very difficult. But I think it's a bit of a risk for Real Madrid because he is still relatively unproven. My question would be is, with the exception of Klopp, who is available and a proven elite manager, like who else is out there really? Like there's not that big pool. When the jobs became available before, you had your Mourinho's, and there isn't that level of elite managers out there. It's almost recycling the old managers. And let's say Mourinho's at Fenerbahce, so we are waiting for the new crop of elite managers to sort of come through and improve themselves, really. So I think it's a bit of a risk, but I can't really see where else they would go, with the exception of Jurgen Klopp. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be a very interesting. Obviously, he's got the history of the club. What he did in that first season at Leverkusen was absolutely astounding. And I think he'll try and bring some of those players back across. Obviously, Real Madrid are already in the market to move quickly because of the World Club Championships. And looking at Huijsen from Bournemouth, which I feel for me is maybe a little bit early, but I understand if Real Madrid come knocking, you have to go, especially if you are Spanish heritage. So I think 50 million feels a bit steep for him, if I'm being honest, but I understand all of the pieces as to why they're going for him.
When I look at him, he obviously looks a hell of a player, and I actually think 50 million, they might be getting a bit of a snip there. You're buying potential, aren't you? But you almost need them to come in and hit the ground running, which they're probably going to allow him to bed in, aren't they? I know that Alaba looks like he's being released on a free, and they're trying to get rid of Rodrigo as well, so they'll have the funds for it. Because they're the kings of free transfers, aren't they? Have you seen they've got Alonso on a free as well? How's that happened? they've waived the fee in his contract.
Oh, okay.
Leverkusen, so he's gone on a free. How they do it every time, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one, isn't it?
It wouldn't surprise me if there's like for example, Guller's apparently available for loan, so you might find that he goes to Leverkusen with no fees as a way of kind of paying it back. The Spanish teams are having to become very good at bartering because obviously their rules are very strict and very prohibitive. There's talk of Barcelona having to release Frankie de Jong, Gavi, Fermin Lopez, Jasmine Torres. Lopez Torres. What's his name?
Is who?
Fermin for Barcelona, Fermin Lopez or Fermin? They're looking to get rid of
Lopez, isn't it?
Yeah,
Ferran Torres.
That's it. They're looking to get rid of 4 players that you think, blimey, Frankie de Jong would make for all Premier League teams would be a massive. I know he's on huge wages, so all Spanish teams are going to be doing a little bit of jigger and poker this summer, I think, with the ins and the outs.
They've got it on them for ages, haven't they? Barcelona around the players. Dani Olmo's been the one for ages, haven't they? Haven't been able to register him, so I'm surprised that this hasn't happened yet. They always seem to wiggle around it and find a way, but I mean, they've got an abundance of talent there that they probably don't need. There's a few of them. I mean, their youth academy has always been great, but there's some of the players coming through at the minute, forgetting Yamal, he's an exception. He's the best player in the world at the minute, in my opinion.
You definitely can make a case for it, can't you? He's definitely producing regularly, scoring goal contributions. For me, I think he's actually what he does very well is he's very consistent and he does the basics really, really well. When he gets the ball, cut into his left foot, he either crosses, shoots, on repeat. He just does the same thing over and over again. Give him a little bit. It
reminds me a bit of Ian Robben to an extent.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that. I mean, Robben was obviously class, but he always had it thrown at him one-trick pony. Yamal sort of does the same, but nobody can stop him. Like, I'm gobsmacked down, nobody can stop him, but it just shows how good he is. Like, we've been crying out for somebody to come and take the mantle of best player in the world, haven't we, from Messi and Ronaldo, and have that. And we've been looking around going, who's going to win it? Who's going to win the Ballon d'Or? And to me, I think the obvious candidate is him now, and he's so good. And at his age, if he gets better, how good's he going to be?
Well, again, if you keep good players around him, he'll definitely keep Barcelona. They're always going to be in the mix, aren't they, with him around? That's for sure, because he is doing some really wonderful things. And as we keep saying, this summer, more than any other summer, is going to be frantic. It's going to be crazy. There's obviously the 2 transfer windows. There's the World Club Cup that's thrown in the mix there. There's going to be, and we have to say these words in this order, the manager merry-go-round. There's going to be some big clubs that are available. We know that Spurs are going to be available. If Chelsea don't finish in the Champions League and don't win the conference, does Chelsea become available? That's before you even talk about the impact of Europe. So this is going to be a very, very interesting summer. And we've only got a couple of weeks left to wait. And we are now very much down the bottom of the pint glass, aren't we? Just looking for that last little drips of the season to see what we can squeeze out of it and see if we can just get one more. Go on, you want to say something?
I know. I was just thinking about this on the car. I was on the school run this morning and thinking about like what is there to look forward to. Like I'd say 80% of the league are probably, which has never happened, are probably going, can't wait for the season to finish. Where normally the teams are going like it's beginning of the season, you go, can't wait for the football to kick off. Like it's very weird. Like you've got such a high percentage of teams that just have nothing to play for, and you just go like that. You don't normally feel that way with game weeks. Like normally you're excited to watch a game, but like you look down the games of this game week and you go, what's the standout fixture? And there doesn't, I mean, Arsenal, Newcastle is the standout fixture to me, but with the exception of that, there isn't a lot more you look at and go, that looks a good game. Like there isn't anything.
Well, for me, the standout fixture of the weekend is the FA Cup final.
Yes.
Palace versus Manchester City, and that's where we're going to start because it's a season of teams not winning forever, winning. Bologna won in midweek for the first time in 54 years, 55 years. Newcastle, it's happening all around Europe. Can we make a case for this Crystal Palace team that when they're on it and when they're up for it, they look hungry, they look fresh, they look aggressive, they look great in attack and defence. Can we make a case for them beating Manchester City at their second ground, Wembley?
So I am going to put my neck on the line here, and it's a few years ago saying I think Palace are going to win the game, you'd have been laughed at. Now it's not so much of a bonkers statement, but I think Palace will win. I think they've got the momentum with them. I think Eze is absolutely flying at the minute. He's the absolute key to them. But they've got players around them like Sarr is in a purple patch of form. Mateta's still scoring goals. Like Adam Wharton, unbelievable player. Like you could go on and on with some of their players, and Man City, like to not be able to beat Southampton, and then they didn't look like scoring as well. By the way, like they battered them possession wise, but they're just not the same team they used to be. Like I'm all in on Palace. I think Palace have got a great shot. If you're wanting to look at some of the teams that they could be playing, looking to beat, I'd be looking at Man City and having them in a cup final and go and take that because they're not the same team that used to be.
No, I think it's just important to float that Wharton could be missing the game. He missed the last league game through injury. But again, you can't judge Crystal Palace against Spurs because that's obviously definitely not the same level. But again, if he is missing, that would be a big miss because you're right, he is. There's even talk of Real Madrid coming in for him.
He is that good.
That's the levels that he's performing at right now. And again, whatever we think of the Real Madrid pool, he feels like a Real Madrid player. The way he just controls the game.
He reminds me of Modric.
Oh, yeah. The thing, again, we're all experts, right? But the thing he needs to add to his game, his end product, right? He doesn't score many goals, he doesn't chip in, does he? But he should be scoring 8 or 10 goals a season, really. But no, what a player and what a game. And for me, actually, obviously, it's a week of cup finals. There's the All English affair next Wednesday as well. I would love for Crystal Palace to win this. I think it'd be so great for that club. I think it'd be so. I know no disrespect to Manchester City, but they've been there, they've done it, they've got the T-shirt, they've won it many times. But for Palace, this would be life changing for their supporters, wouldn't it?
They'll be absolutely. I can't wait for the tifo that comes out at Wembley and the fans. It'll be amazing for them, and I really like the way that they're run as a club. I've seen a few of their fans come back to me, and I said that they're like, "Oh, the owner, he's not what you think he is." Yeah, like he's not 100% like the best owner in the world, but he's still, from what he's taken them to, like the transfer strategy. There's a clear vision there; you can see it. So, I'd really like them to win it. You say other teams have gone and won trophies after years and years and years. I don't think Palace have ever won a trophy, so. Be amazing for them to get one on the board, especially against Man City, who regularly do it. So 100% behind Palace.
Yeah, what I'd like for them is for them to play the same way they played in the semi-final. Then what comes of it comes of it. I'd love for them to be able to bring that same energy, that same tempo, that same feeling they had in that semi-final. And then if they don't win, but they play like that, then Man City have earned it and deserve it. I just hope they do themselves justice and the occasion doesn't get to them.
Yeah, agreed.
So let's start there. So you put your neck on the line with a prediction, or you said you was going to put your neck on the line. What do you think the score will be in the FA Cup final at Wembley on Saturday?
I am going for Palace 2, Man City 1.
I think I'm going to go with the experience of Manchester City, and I go Crystal Palace 1, Manchester City 2. But I hope and pray that I'm wrong on that one. Before Saturday, and there's no Premier League football on Saturday this week, which is going to feel very bizarre and peculiar, obviously keeping it clear, for the FA Cup final. We have 2 Friday night games. We have Aston Villa play Spurs, and we have Chelsea play Man United. I'm going to be a little bit rude and just say 2 home wins, move on.
I don't see how you can make a case for the 2 away teams knowing what's on the horizon for them. I think you've got to go with 2 home wins. I've got my prediction-wise, I've gone comfortable home wins as well.
But in both teams' defences, they're both losing players at quite a rate. It looks like Billet and Euro for Manchester United, certainly on the cusp of not being fit or out. Obviously, Kulusevski going down for Spurs in the Palace game. That would have spooked both sets of managers, and I can see, and I completely agree with them, that they're going to go as weak as they can get away with. Racking cotton wool to the first 11 players for next Wednesday, because both teams put all their eggs in that basket.
It's negligible to not do that, isn't it? If you're a fan of either of Spurs United and you see your manager put out a week before a European final, when players are going down injured, you put out the full 11, that's a sackable offence.
Where both of them are in the league, I completely agree. You just have to go all in. And by the way, I had made the mistake of listening to Talk Sport. I think it was on Tuesday on the way somewhere, and there was people phoning in that were allegedly fans of Spurs and Man United saying that we've had such a bad season. It would be embarrassing to celebrate winning the cup. If you're a fan of one of them two teams and you don't celebrate it, jog on, because
Yeah,
you never
you're not
know.
a fan. Yeah,
When's the next chance you're going to get to celebrate? Trust me,
absolute idiots.
it's a massive, massive cup. It's the second biggest in Europe, arguably at the start of the season, the third biggest for both teams. If you win it, go and enjoy yourselves. Don't get worried about the league position, because I promise you, in 10 years' time, you won't remember where you finished in the 24-25 season, but you will remember winning the Europa League.
Yeah, well, I know West Ham's a bit of a different case to those two clubs. They're not as big, but I just asked West Ham fans how they felt winning the Conference League, and that's a tear down.
Ask Sevilla. If I said to you, when Sevilla went on that winning 4 out of 5 years, where did they finish in the league?
No idea.
No, you don't care. But you can remember that they won the Europa League. So anyway, park it. So we're going to do a double bubble here on predictions. So we'll start with the Aston Villa game just because it's alphabetical. So Aston Villa host Spurs at Villa Park Friday night. The score will be?
I've gone 3-0.
So have I. Chelsea host Manchester United at Stamford Bridge. The score will be?
I've gone 2-0.
So have I. Jesus Christ. For those interested, you can do a little bit of poking around with the times, because the Aston Villa game kicks off at 7:30 and the Chelsea game kicks off at 8:15, so you can jump between them and watch a little bit of all of it if you've got the ability to do so. We then jump right into Sunday, and on paper this isn't an interesting game, but in the grand scheme of football it's an interesting game, because Everton host Southampton for the last Premier League game at Goodison Park.
They couldn't have wished for a worse team to turn up to send them off, could they? Or actually, I mean, if it means that they win and they get a good send-off.
And I think that's the point, isn't it? Like, you could have gone, Liverpool at home would be amazing, but you're not guaranteed, not guaranteed, but I'm saying, like, it's a hard fixture. To play Southampton friendly, Southampton are now officially on the beach because they're now beaten Derby's lowest ever point score, so they've done what they needed to do last week and they enjoyed their moment. And you mentioned Man City, they definitely thought it was a little bit brave coming at them on social media, taking the piss out of the way they did, but good luck to you. But so Southampton are now safe from being the lowest point total, so this should be a really sort of a free hit for Everton, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I just think Southampton every now and again seem to score a goal, so I've got them scoring, but I can't see how anyone doesn't think that this is a home win. Be interesting to see how Southampton come about it. So after a great performance against Man City, sitting back and defending, whether they carry on with that style or whether they think we've got to have a go now. It's Everton, we might be able to score here, and that opens them up. So I'll be interested to see how they go about it, but I don't think anyone can be possibly backing Southampton to win.
No, but fair play to them. Like I said, they've definitely turned it around, and again, when you start to look at teams that might be looking at 1-0 next season, I think actually the last couple of weeks both Southampton and Leicester have started to show that there could be some signs of green shoots of recovery if they can keep some of the players and keep doing what they're doing. There's been some improvement. So I'll be tuning into this just because for me Goodison Park is one of those. I remember all those classics in the 80s, and yes, I am old enough to remember some football in the 80s of that Everton, when Everton were a great side as well, with Everton Liverpool derbies. The fans behind the goal surging for that. Goodison Park is one of them stadiums for me that will always be etched in football history. And I've actually been to Goodison Park, and it is so enclosed in the area. You think I can't possibly be walking my way to a ground, and then you turn around the corner and there it is. And I think in so many ways, I think it's such a shame that Everton, that feel like a club steeped in history, have made this decision. But I do get it.
I was just about to say the same thing. I think the time is right, but it's a real shame to be losing the ground, the tradition, and everything. You just sort of feel like you're losing history, don't you? Which you're obviously never going to lose history, but it is a real shame.
It's one of them Upton Park. It feels like I don't know. Just some teams. I think some teams can fit a soulless bowl. Like I think some clubs work in that kind of modern stadium. But there's a couple of teams that I just think that God, if you'd have just kept that horrible to go to, small, enclosed, that venom, if you look at West Ham, I imagine now as an away player, it's a much nicer place to go. And actually, I'd be interested to look at their home record before and after the move. Because I can just imagine that with the fans being so far away from the pitch, and those West Ham fans can get at you, actually, I bet it's much easier to play them now than it used to be at
no doubt. No doubt. I mean, the one that springs to mind of another team that you just can't ever imagine them going is Liverpool leaving Anfield, which is, I think, why it was redeveloped and extra seats added. But at some point, there's going to be a conversation around, is the time right for them to move? But it just won't feel the same if
Yeah.
Liverpool and Anfield, will it, if that ever happens?
No, but the other strange thing is that they're not knocking it down and turning it into houses. They're giving it to the women's team.
That's only just changed now, hasn't it? So it is still going to be there. Yeah, I mean, they've struggled with PSR for a long, long time. It would just seem the logical thing to do, wouldn't it? But no, I mean, fair play for them for doing that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But emotional, to say the least. Everton hosts Southampton, 12 o'clock kickoff on Sunday. The score will be?
I've gone Everton 2, Southampton 1.
I've gone 2-0. I think that will be a very fitting way from a David Moyes team to finish up. West Ham, who fresh off beating Manchester United last week, which was no surprise to me at least, host free-falling Nottingham Forest. Is this the perfect fixture for Nottingham Forest though? Because actually, West Ham have done what they needed to do. They've had a little bit of a jump up the league table off the back of last week's results. They're not going to finish 17th. They're probably not going to finish 16th now. So actually, they're kind of done. Whereas Nottingham Forest really, really need this, don't they? They're 1 in 3, dropping points all over the place. Obviously, dropping points to Leicester they would have had on paper as a home banker. And obviously the owner or not owner, depending on who you talk to, running on the pitch at the end of the game to have a go at the manager. It just feels like Nottingham Forest need this win.
I'm all in the Forest camp on this. Like I said, I think it's a good fixture. West Ham will come at them because they've got nothing to play for. It's not going to sit in deep like Leicester did last week and allow them to have a lot of the ball, which isn't their strong suit. I think West Ham will go at them. It will suit Forest and they'll hit them on the break with pace. I can see this being a Forest win. It means a lot more to them than West Ham.
And what did you think about the owner last week? Obviously not a great result, but it didn't look good, did it?
It didn't look good, but when I've heard the explanation on it, I'm taking it as truth because I think when you look at it, it didn't look like he was physically having a go at Nuno, and Nuno was quite calm about it. The explanation was he was asking about Awonyi, wasn't he? Who obviously now is in a very serious critical condition. Bless him, so all the best there. But that was the explanation, is to say he was wondering what was going on. Why wasn't he back on the pitch or why wasn't he coming off? So I sort of get it and understand it, but it's not a good look coming on the pitch. You don't see owners coming on the pitch. So that would be my advice to him, is stay off the pitch. And also get yourself a new phone, mate.
Well, there is an undertone going around that obviously he's had to change the ownership model, hasn't he, to comply with European rule, and so actually he's technically not the owner anymore, so how is he even allowed near the pitch?
Yeah. Like, it's bonkers. Just stay off the pitch, and then everything. None of that story. Like, you can still have a go at Nuno if you want, have a pop. It's your prerogative, but not on the pitch in front of everyone and the cameras. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and interestingly, around the injury, I read that there's a 30% chance of death if that happens to you.
He's been put in an induced coma, hasn't he? Which tells you everything you need to know.
The fact that they tried to let him play on, and again, you can't do that internal check. They haven't got a scan to do that, of course not. But I just think that we need to be.
That law needs to be looked at, doesn't it? Because it was so. I was watching the game, and as it happened, Joan, sometimes you go offside, and you like no, it was so obvious. You just went, that's offside. Like, that was the reaction by most people, and I thought, which has then obviously caused a serious injury. I've had so many comments back because I commented on them to say, look, you need to say something to the FA to say you need to look at this law. It's caused this injury. I've had so many comments of fans of other teams going, look, it's happened to us. Like, this player got injured, and it's happening more and more regularly because it's obviously players are diving in or having to sprint after a ball. So, like, you're at full pelt when you're going through on goal, aren't you? So it does need to be looked at, especially the obvious ones. The question will be what classes is obvious, but that was so obvious. He was 2-3 yards offside. So obvious to call.
Yeah, I agree. It just needs to be done. It's just, there's been so much tinkering with the laws of the game that we just need to kind of go back to going, if it's clearly offside, just stick your flag up. I think we would all sacrifice, I don't know, let's say across the course of the season, the whole league missing out on 10 goals because we've incorrectly put our flag up too early, if it means we don't have one of those injuries that we had at the weekend.
Yeah, 100%.
You know,
100%.
the players have to be put first here, and this for me is an easy one to fix. But after all of that, West Ham do host Nottingham Forest on Sunday. The score will be.
I've gone West Ham 0, Forest 1.
So right.
I mean, it's set up for a 0-1. I think it'll just suit them. They'll sit back, defend, do what they're good at, and then just get someone like Alanga bursting forward at pace.
I completely agree. I completely agree. And of course, I actually hope so for the league. You know, West Ham got nothing to play for. I actually hope that Nottingham Forest go and get the win, because that will keep it interesting. And if you're interested in who finishes in the top 5, then at least that will keep that to the last game of the season. And then they play Chelsea, which would at least then make that game even more interesting.
I have had Forest fans in my messages, though. It was previously, what would you sooner than get the Champions League or the FA Cup? At the minute, it looks like neither.
Let's not think about that just yet. Let's let them have their moment, because actually,
But it will be, if they win this, they're right back in it, though, aren't they?
And if they don't, they're not, because as we've said, Aston Villa and Chelsea both are winning on Friday night, so that's just absolute chaos, I'm afraid. So yeah, but they need the win. A team that will, in my opinion, get the win and have been the team I've been most impressed with over the last, feels like longer, but 6-7 weeks, is Brentford. They host the up and down, the ever up and down, at the moment you like more down than up, Fulham, at home. I just can't tell you how impressed I am with Brentford, mate. I'm loving what they're doing. That they're my favourite team right now. I just love everything about them.
I was just about to. I saw a clip of them as well, and they had Congolese lunch at the training ground. Obviously, Jan Vis is Congolese, and just everything they were putting out there. Like they've quite quickly become my second team that I like in the Premier League the most. I think everything they do is top draw. Like from social media to the communication with the fans, or the manager, I think he's top draw. The players and how they play, like unfashionable plays which most clubs wouldn't have or buy originally, like the way that they've turned some of the players, like what they've turned them into, like they've very quickly become my second favourite team, and I can't see them losing.
I mean, Norgard, Sade, they're just literally.
He was getting ridiculed at the beginning, wasn't he, that Sade, and now he's scoring every week.
Right. And again, by the way, some header. Again, I know that you're putting in an area, and he's not planning to put it there, but you're just sticking it in the mixer, as they say. But I just love. They win different ways. They can beat Man United 4-3. They can beat Ipswich 1-0. The goalkeeper's chipping in with some important saves as well. Ipswich had some chances. Like, it wasn't all one-way traffic. But again, I keep coming back to the fact that they sold Ivan Toney at the start of the season. Like, after the first game, he didn't play in the first game of the season because he was going. And they're still doing what? They're in 8th place. It's unbelievable what they've done.
Unbelievable. And I can't praise the club highly enough. So everything they do, I think, is just absolutely top draw. And if you want any inspiration of how you take a club from a certain level and you organically grow it, just look at Brentford.
And on the flip side of this, do we need to sort of talk about Fulham's drop off? Okay, and it looks like they might now even miss out on European football and have a bottom half finish. Coincides with all of the links and rumours about their manager. Do you think that's turned people? Do you think that's I don't know, maybe the manager's got his eye elsewhere? There's been talk of Saudi, there's been talk of Tottenham, there's been talk of all these other teams. Do you think that had any influence on it, or do you think actually the squad just is lacking a bit, and that's eventually brought up more?
I think it does have an influence. I just keep going back to what we said at the beginning. Fulham. We like Fulham. They're a good club. What they do is good, and some of the players they bought are good. I just don't think they're as good as some of the teams above them. So when they are coming up against those teams, they're losing to those teams, but they're beating the teams below them that they're better than. They're just doing nothing. I think they're just in the natural place of where they should be, if I'm being honest. Like, when I look at some of the games that they have lost, I think you probably should be losing that game. But then other games where I look at it and go, you'll win that comfortably. They do. Like I said, they've gone and beat Leicester comfortably, like Ipswich comfortably. All of those sort of teams which they should beat, they have done. And I just think they're probably in the natural order of where they should be.
Yeah, it just feels disappointing based on where they were.
There's potential for them to kick on, but they just haven't, have they?
You look at their last 5 fixtures, and lost 4, which obviously isn't great for anybody. But from where they were, you stick. Bearing in mind they lost to Bournemouth, they lost to Chelsea. Okay, Aston Villa. Everton is the one that jumps off as being one that we both thought they would win that game. But you stick an extra sort of 3 or 4 points on them, and they're right up with Brighton, right up with Brentford, and they're still in that European mix on 55 points. So I think they'll look back on this as an opportunity missed. because I think they could be one of those teams that gets cherry picked this summer based on the fact they won't have European football.
Yeah, I think the one thing that they're missing is a goal scorer. And they have had Raul Jimenez, who hit a bit of form and looked like that person. And then who's the other guy they had up for? I can't remember his name.
Muniz.
Yeah, he's had games where he's gone and scored goals. But when you look at the other teams, Brentford, Johan Visser around them, Brighton, João Pedro, there is other teams seem to have a goal scorer of sorts. Brighton, Danny Welbeck this season.
Yeah.
I just think Fulham possibly lacked that out-and-out number 9 goal scorer, which is why they're in that natural order of where they are.
So Brentford host Fulham Sunday afternoon, 3 o'clock kick-off. The score will be?
I've gone Brentford 2, Fulham 1.
Oh, 2-0. 2-0. For me, anyway. The on-the-beach derby, we'll call it that more than some of the stuff you've called these games in the past. Leicester host Ipswich. Now, I haven't got a dog in the race, but it's Jamie Vardy's 500th game.
I don't think it will be on the beach. I think there's going to be a lot on this.
Well, yeah, we'll see. Well, okay, there will be for maybe the Leicester fans. There will be for maybe Leicester players to try and get Jamie Vardy to that 500th game, 200th goal. But beyond that, I can't see too much kind of particular drive for this.
There is the 18th position up for grabs as well, which is worth a few million for PSR. I know it's not massive, but more so for Leicester, I think, and their PSR. The higher up they finish, the more money in the coffers is just going to help with. It's going to be a full squad rebuild, whereas I think Ipswich are fine. So I think there's a lot more riding on this for Leicester. And like you added Jamie Vardy's last game, which they've come out and said this will be his last ever game. He won't be in the squad for the Bournemouth game, so this will be the last time he plays for Leicester. Which I think is really strange, by the way. If he doesn't score against Ipswich, he should have another chance to make 200 goals. But they've come out and said that. So this will be the last time he ever plays for Leicester. So the club are doing a tifo, a whole stadium tifo. So I'd recommend tuning in at whatever time the kickoff is, just to see the beginning of what's going on around the stadium. It should be a really good send off for him. But no, I think this has to be a Leicester win. It means so much more to them than Ipswich. I think this is. And actually, when you look at it, I think it's a decent price as well for a team that's, when I say in form, you know what I mean. They're in form for the relegation teams.
Yeah. It's not on the telly, unfortunately. So, again, I don't know how you could possibly tune in. But, so good luck finding it. But, I'm sure you'll be able to watch it back on Match of the Day. But I would absolutely love. And again, I know that Jamie Vardy is a shithouse, and if you don't support Leicester, he probably wound your team up. Get all of that. But for his journey from coming where he came from doing the non-league, struggling to start with, to get into where he got to do what he's done, I would be absolutely delighted. I'd be as happy if Jamie Vardy scores on Sunday as I would be if Crystal Palace win on Saturday.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I said it last week, and it came to fruition a little bit because he had a good game and stopped Forest getting points. But it's got to be written in the stars. And I don't know if you've seen any of the sort of the context around it. He signed on the 18th of May, 13 years ago, I think it was. His last game is going to be the 18th of May. It's his 500th appearance to score 200 goals. It's sort of written in the stars, isn't it?
Well, let's hope so. Genuinely, let's hope so. I'd be delighted for him. And again, an interesting. As we move through the summer, I'm sure we'll talk about it more. Where does he end up? Because, you don't leave Leicester if you're going to stay in the Championship with a different team. So he must think or have a Premier League team.
They had Sky interviewed him and asked him those questions, and he said, I generally don't know. But he also said he won't be going to the Championship. He was talking about the Premier League, staying in the Premier League. So it'd be very interesting to see where he did go.
Yeah, unless he has a little dabble in, maybe there's a Spanish team. You look at like Oliver Burnley, he's going to Las Palmas, maybe he goes out to one of them. But let's wait and see. Let's not speculate. He's a Leicester player for the time being. Let's hope he does what he needs to do. So 3 o'clock, not on the telly, but at the King Power Stadium, Leicester host Ipswich. The score will be?
I've gone 2-1 Leicester.
As have I. This is going to be one of them which we'll get none right, by the way. We're too close. There's no way that these will come in. Although I will put £1 on the scorecast as well because retire. Sunday.
There's potential here this game week, I think.
Yeah, I said every game week, Frank. Look, we're doing okay. Arsenal host Newcastle 4:30 Emirates Stadium. I guess in some ways this is like you said, maybe game of the week if you take out the FA Cup final. We're playing for second place, so actually there's a little bit on this one, isn't there? I can see this one being at the right tempo. Like last Sunday's game, Liverpool Arsenal felt a little bit, bearing the heat and everything else. But this one I feel is going to be a proper full-blooded ding dong of a game that should be a decent watch.
I'm going to get accused of being a secret Newcastle fan at this rate, but they're my banker of the game week, Newcastle. I know it's a tough game, but I look at the recent history and they've just battered Arsenal. Then they played them in the cup. It was a semi-final, wasn't it? They played them in the cup, battered them. Like, I just think that their style is perfectly suited to Arsenal right now. And Arsenal just seem to be on a real dip. Like I said, on the beach. I know they're still trying to play and get that second place, but I just look at Newcastle and I think everything that they touch at the minute seems to be turning to gold. They've got players on absolute fire. Defensively, they look rock solid. And at 27-10, near enough 3-1, I think that's an unbelievable price for an informed Newcastle team.
It definitely sits in your Sky bet, doesn't it? Freeze if they go up, stick them in and freeze if they go 1-0 up. Anthony Gordon's back. Like you say, I thought they made hard work of Chelsea last week, but still were comfortable. That
should have been 5 or 6-0. It should have been 5 or 6-0.
But we're still comfortable. Obviously, the sending off made a big difference to that game. But I agree. I think Newcastle will be looking at this game. We need to finish second. I think Newcastle will be thinking that would be some season. The Carabao Cup and finishing second in the Premier League would be an unbelievable outcome, wouldn't it, for where they were November, December time.
Yeah, and I said it a few weeks ago. I think with a bit of investment right here and there, I think they're at the minute the closest challenger to Liverpool for the league next season. I know it's a bit of an out there shout, but when I look at the rest of the teams and the squads, I just think with the momentum they've got on a few really good signings, they're a very good side. And as soon as the home form and the fans behind them, they're a very difficult team to beat. They're physical as well. I just really like them. I think they're a very, very good side.
Yeah, they're well drilled. They know how. It sounds obvious, but they've definitely got both attack and defence patterns of play that are very, very good and very, very adaptable to who they're playing. So they'll have a game plan. They've got some units at the back, so the Arsenal long throw or corner shouldn't worry them too much because they've got the Dan
Burn will knee it out, won't he? It should, though, without joking. Someone like him should nullify that threat pretty easily.
Well, when you add Pope into the mix, who's 6 foot, whatever he is, Botman, Burn, you're absolutely right. They should be able to handle that quite comfortably. And then, of course, last game of the season, they'll be playing Everton at home. So actually, if they do beat Arsenal, you'd expect them to beat Everton at home last game of the season, and that would see them into second place. So this is absolutely massive in there because Arsenal plays that factor. If Arsenal beat Newcastle, they're second. I think so whoever wins this game is second for me.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, and like I said, I'm fully in as Newcastle as my banker of the week.
I feel banker strong. I can't lie, but I'm also, by the way, tipping a Newcastle win. But I can't go as far as banker of the week. My banker of the week has already been and gone in Brentford. I think they beat Fulham, and again, I think Brentford are too big an odds. If I'm being honest with you, compared to what Brentford, off the top of my head, they're almost even as Brentford, 10-11.
9-10. I've got them on Bet365.
So almost evenness for Brentford at home in the form they're in is nuts for me.
Yeah, no, agreed.
But so Arsenal versus Newcastle, 4:30, Emirates Stadium. The score will be
Arsenal 0, Newcastle 2.
I thought it was going to. I've gone 1-2. I think Arsenal will have some in them, and then we move on to a game that really, other than maybe Brentford, get on the reach, Brighton try and push for that European place to host Liverpool Monday night. Liverpool going through obviously almost like an end season parade, really, where they go around the country just kind of high fiving each other, going, "You've had a few beers and we're playing football." Nothing to play for at all. But that could make this a really entertaining but not high level game of football.
Yeah, and when I look at Brighton, Brighton are very similar to Fulham to me. You just don't know what you're going to get. I mean, I am just going with, I think Liverpool will have too much quality, even though they might be half cut. I think they're in Dubai and in Ibiza and slots in Ibiza, feel like they're all over the shop at the minute. But I just think they'll have too much quality. I just can see them seeing off Brighton, to be honest. But I think it would be an interesting game because I think the style of play from Brighton will make it interesting because they like to pass through the lines, and Liverpool obviously like to keep the ball as well. So that'll be an interesting blend. I don't think it'll be exciting though. I think from an actual tactical point of view, it'll be a good game, but I don't think it'll be the best watch.
I certainly see goals because if you look at Brighton, they've scored 59, conceded 56. That's a lot of goals for someone that high up in the league. So you're talking about, 115 goals in 36 games, whereas Liverpool have scored 83 and conceded 37. So I see this being over 2.5 goals, that's for sure. And like you say, really, Liverpool have done the job. Crack on, go and enjoy your summer, lads. Go and get as much of something as you can now because this is a quick turnaround, isn't it? So yep. Brighton host Liverpool Monday night at the Amex Stadium. Score.
Brighton 1, Liverpool 2.
I've got 2-2. Just because I do think that Liverpool are quite literally on the beach. This next 2 games, I think are going to be almost impossible to call it till the FA Cup finals being and gone.
Yeah, should we just do the scores rather than go through the actual games because we're looking ahead to the future, aren't they? With a couple of games in between, so I mean, probably just do a score prediction for now rather than analysis.
Well, yeah.
It's very difficult to even talk about the game when you've got a game before that and everything.
Well, especially if Crystal Palace win the FA Cup, you can imagine them going absolutely large licks out on the town. And yeah, so Crystal Palace host Wolves. When is that? Tuesday night. Where am I at?
It is.
I just had it open. I thought what's happened here. Forgive me, caller.
Here we go.
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night, both 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock kickoff, Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace host Wolves. This will be.
I've gone 2-0 Palace. I just think Wolves have dipped at the minute, and Palace are obviously flying. I think I'm going with I think they're going to win the FA Cup, so just going to be on a high. So I've gone 2-0.
So mine's the other way around. I think that whatever happens, Crystal Palace won't be the same team. And I've got 1-2. I've gone 2-1 to Wolves. I just think that if they do win it, they're not going to give a crap. And if they don't win it, that's going to take some getting over.
Yeah.
And Wolves have got a free hit. And then we move up north. Manchester City host Bournemouth, same time, different venue at Emirates Stadium. The score will be.
Gone for a home win. I think Bournemouth's style will play into their hands as opposed to what Southampton did. So I've gone 2-1 Man City.
So have I. There's a lot of similarity there, man. Jesus. Okay, so out of all of that, off the fresh news of us both getting our £5 challenges right last week, what does your £5 challenge look like this week, mate?
I've gone really simple. I've gone double. Forest and Newcastle pays £48.
I thought you said 48 to 1.
No. Pays £48. I thought off a fiver for a double. I think that's good value for 2 aways who I think will both win.
So I've gone for Aston Villa, Chelsea, Everton and Brentford. It only gets you not as much as what you get, to be fair, because it pays £24. But I think that's a relatively safe £5 challenge to get us over the line with only 2 more weekends to go.
Yeah, so we're 245 profit now because we've just spent a tenner. But that could take us to 300.
That'll do. This time next year, Rodney, we'll be millionaires.
Slowly building, slowly.
It'll be interesting to go back and see over the course of the season how many we actually got right. Not in terms of the 5,000 of the predictions, maybe.
I mean, off the top of my head, I went for quite a while, but I think it's like 6 or 7 now. So it's not too bad. Because we used to go for 50 to 1s, didn't we? Really, we used to go quite big, and we've sort of changed our tack, which is proving to work. So I think it's about 6 we've got right.
But I mean, like total prediction, not £5 challenge, just total prediction.
Oh, how many? Yeah.
I feel like it's about 65-70%. I feel like we kind of get between sort of 6 and 7 a week normally, don't we?
It's very rare we drop below a 50% correct results as opposed to the score lines.
Yeah. Score lines, Jesus Christ. I mean, having said that,
we've done all right on them though as well. Like we're getting 1 or 2 most game weeks, which is not bad.
Wow. Let's see what the punters think, mate. Okay. Well, look, as always, mate, my favourite hour of the week. Now we're going to hand over to you to tell people where they can reach out and find us.
So to listen to the episode, you are going to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. We're on social media as well. If you search for TAIE Podcast or The Atmosphere is Electric, we're on Twitter, X, Facebook, and TikTok.
Amazing. And of course, between now and then, there will obviously, as we've spoken about, be some cup finals. So we wish everybody that's involved in the cup final all the very best. Please go and celebrate if you win. Don't get too down if you lose. Crystal Palace would be fantastic if you could go and beat Manchester City. I think the whole of football is behind that. And look forward to
Eagles.
and of course, the All English affair out in Bilbao. If you go, travel safe, get back home safely, and good luck to all teams involved in the cup competitions. And of course, we send our best wishes to Mr. T from Nottingham Forest. Hope he makes a speedy recovery as well. But as always, Fran, love that. Thank you very much for your time, mate. I look forward to speaking to you next week.
Go on, Vards.